When I say that I love cooking and it's not work for me, I truly mean that. Okay, so I'm not very happy with this recipe. So this cheesecake is redemption for the shrimp, for the shrimp scampi. So y'all know my son plays travel soccer, and this past weekend we were at a tournament like an hour and a half away from our house, and so we didn't really have a choice. I mean, I guess we had a choice. I could have packed food, but anyway, I didn't think that far ahead. I don't have my life together, okay? And so we wanted a quick lunch in between games. We had like a little over an hour, and I thought, oh, there's like a Five Guys that's, you know, 10 minutes away. Let's go there and eat in between games. You would not believe, okay, for me, my husband, and my son, all we got was we each got a burger, fries, and a drink, and my son got a chocolate shake. Do you wanna know how much this was? $84. $84 to eat at Five Guys. Some of you that eat at Five Guys might know that, oh, it's expensive, okay? I don't have a Five Guys around where I live. I didn't know it was that expensive. I had a lot of sticker shock. And so as I was eating that meal, I got to thinking, why am I not like making more copycat recipes at home, right? Because eating out has gotten so ridiculously expensive. And so I set out to recreate a Cheesecake Factory meal at home. Yes, at home. And it's gonna be for a fraction of the price, okay? So I decided to make the shrimp scampi from the Cheesecake Factory. I got a copycat recipe from Top Secret Recipes. More on that later, and the fail of all of that. I also made their Caesar salad dressing. We got some of their brown bread, and I made a really delicious cheesecake. And so here's the price comparison for that, okay? So I went onto the Cheesecake Factory's website and I found their closest location to me, and here's what I figured out. So for 4 entrees, the shrimp scampi, 2 salads, and 4 pieces of cheesecake, $181.50. Plus tax, $194.21, plus a $40 tip. The total would be $234.21. Okay, we can make it cheaper than that. So I'm gonna share with you today how to make a copycat meal at home from the Cheesecake Factory. It's gonna be just as delicious, and it's gonna cost you way less. So we're gonna start with the thing that takes the longest, or has to refrigerate the longest before dinner. It's still morning time, so we have plenty of time, but I am going to make the traditional regular vanilla cheesecake from Cheesecake Factory. I found this recipe on topsecretrecipes.com. I do pay for a subscription to that site because it helps me when I make these copycat videos. So in this bowl, I have graham cracker crumbs, 1.5 cups of that, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and then I just melted 1/3 cup of butter. The original recipe actually called for margarine, but I don't typically keep margarine in the house, so I just substituted butter. I did think the crust was interesting because typically when you make a graham cracker crust, it does call for a bit of sugar, but this one didn't. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna combine this together and then press it in the bottom of this 9-inch springform pan. I cut a parchment paper sheet into a circle and just put that in the bottom of the pan with some nonstick cooking spray. And then the other interesting thing about this recipe is that you do not pre-bake the crust. You actually put it in the freezer while you make the filling, so I thought that was interesting also. I'm always terrible, I feel like, excuse me, at doing this part perfectly, but what you want to do is also push the graham cracker crumbs up against the side of the springform pan. It doesn't have to be perfect, but about halfway up. And you want to use like a drinking glass that has a flat bottom, so when you push it up against that corner of the pan, you get that even coating on the pan. So I'm going to continue doing this. One fun fact about me that I don't know if I've shared before is that when I was in college, when I first kind of started getting really into cooking and Food Network, I was obsessed with making cheesecakes. And in fact, the springform pans that I have now are still the same ones that I purchased when I was in college. And I don't know, I was obsessed with, like, I mean, cooking in general I became obsessed with, but making cheesecakes specifically, extremely random. I don't know why. I'd say that turned out pretty good. I'm gonna pop this in the freezer. I decided to be a little bit bougie today and purchase some real vanilla beans from Walmart. This jar of like literally 2 vanilla beans was, I believe, $12 or $14. However, still cheaper than purchasing a whole cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory. So I haven't done this in a long time. We're gonna see if I still have the skills, but basically you wanna split the vanilla bean down the middle, and then the vanilla, like little, are they seeds? I don't know the proper terminology, but that's the part you want in the middle, is the like the paste. I'm probably not using the correct terminology, but you get the idea. I feel like I'm performing surgery on this because it's like very, like, I can't get it flattened. There we go, maybe that's better. Okay, I'll scrape it out like that. I don't know, that smells pretty vanilla-y. The original recipe called for 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, so maybe what I'll do is just use this vanilla bean in place of that, and then just add maybe like a splash of vanilla extract. Look at that. So much vanilla bean in there. Okay, so it's actually the next morning, but I wanted to pop in here and let you guys know that today's video is sponsored by Maeve, and this is the perfect time for that because I'm just feeding the dogs. And y'all know that I have a senior dog. His name is Murphy. He's 10 and a half. He's a lab, and he's started like in the last year to get pretty bad arthritis. And I've talked before about how we've tried some different medications and things, but one of the things that I am trying now is shifting his diet to more of a whole foods diet. And that's why I was super excited to try Maeve. Maeve is actually the first and only human grade protein rich dog food for dogs, made with real ingredients you can see and name just by looking. When I got my Maeve box in the mail and I opened the bag to see the dog food, I was like, oh my gosh, I could actually see like the chunks of food that are in here and what they are. I was super impressed. Some of the benefits of Maeve raw food include improved digestion, balanced energy, strengthened immune system, some relief from allergy symptoms, better weight control, and increased mobility, which is what I'm most interested in for Murphy. And 90% of dog parents saw health improvements while feeding their dogs Maeve. How we eat obviously affects our mood, our energy levels, our immune function, and the same goes for our dogs. Every bowl of Maeve includes human-grade lean protein, vitamin-rich organ meat, fresh produce, and personalized supplements. It's made with the highest quality ingredients and flash frozen for optimal nutrient absorption. Murphy can be a little bit picky with his dog food sometimes, but he absolutely loves both of the Maeve foods that we've tried. And I'm really excited to keep feeding him this diet to see how it continues to improve his health. So I'll be updating you guys in a future video on that. But if you guys are looking to improve your dog's diet, Maeve is actually offering my subscribers an awesome deal. I'll have a link in the description box below. Head down there, click on that link, and use code JEN, that's just J-E-N, and you're gonna get 20% off your first Maeve order. So once again, I'll have that link in the description box below, or you can scan the QR code on the screen right here to try Maeve for 20% off your first order. I'm so excited to see how this improves Murphy's health and mobility. You need 4 8-ounce packs of cream cheese. So I don't know, y'all can let me know what you think if you're a baker, but I personally feel like the Philadelphia cream cheese, especially when I'm making a cheesecake, I do feel like the quality matters. Have I made cheesecakes with, you know, generic cream cheese before? Of course, but typically if I'm gonna invest in a recipe like this, I wanna use the name brand stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these out of the package, put them in the mixer with the vanilla bean and the sugar. I need to get some sour cream out of the fridge, and these have basically been sitting on the counter for a few hours, so they're soft now. I know it's still morning. I'm not ready yet, so sorry for the jump scare, but there's like literally nothing I enjoy more on a day off than just being in my kitchen. I have all the blinds open, it's sunny outside, I have the window open, I can feel the breeze, and I'm just cooking, I'm doing my thing. I'm washing some produce, making some cheesecake. I just love it. So like when I say that I love cooking and it's not work for me, I truly mean that. Like, is it work? Yes, of course, but it's work that I really, really enjoy. Okay, so in our stand mixer, again, we've got our sugar, vanilla bean, splash of vanilla extract, cream cheese, and sour cream, and I'm just gonna combine this together. I'm using the whisk attachment so that everything can get really incorporated, and I'm just gonna run this mixer until everything is smooth. Okay, that's nice and smooth. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this, but hopefully maybe you can see the little flecks of vanilla bean through there, which I don't know, obviously tastes really good, but then I feel like it makes it feel a little bit fancier. Gourmet, if you will. In this bowl, I've got 5 eggs. So I actually found these eggs for $3.49 a dozen at Hy-Vee. So I don't know, are eggs going down in price where you're at or not? They seem to be here. Okay, so 5 eggs. I'm gonna go ahead and whisk these together before I add them to my mixer bowl, just to make sure that everything gets incorporated easily and I don't have like streaks of egg in my cheesecake. So while my mixer is running, I'm just gonna go ahead and pour the eggs in, and that's it. Super simple mixture for the cheesecake itself, not many ingredients. Okay, so we've got our frozen crust. You really want to make sure that the cheesecake mixture is nice and smooth. There's no lumps, and you have to scrape down the sides quite a bit as it's mixing, just to make sure you get everything incorporated. Okay, we're just gonna smooth out the top, and the top of the cheesecake will come beyond the part where you know, put the crust up to on the side. I'm not explaining that very well, but you know what I mean. If there's any bubbles, you want to kind of pop those as well. One thing I've found about making cheesecakes is that it is kind of hard to make a cheesecake that doesn't crack as it cools, but we have a water bath in the oven going, so hopefully that will negate that. So what I have done is I have wrapped this springform pan in some foil, a couple layers of foil, because I've got my oven preheated here, and you can see that I have a water bath going in there. So that's just my roasting pan. Why is the light flickering? I don't know what's going on. Everything's breaking in this house. I put my roasting pan in there with some water in it. We're actually gonna put the cheesecake into the water bath. We're gonna bake it at 475 for 10 to 15 minutes, turn the oven temperature down another hour at 350. We're gonna say a little prayer that the water doesn't leak into that pan. All right, our cheesecake is out of the oven. I am extremely happy to report that it did not crack, although there's still time for it to do so because it could crack as it cools, but whatever. We're gonna roll with it. I'm gonna lift this out of the water bath and just put it on a cooling rack. We need to let it cool before we put the topping on it. And look at that, no water on the inside of the foil, so that was a win. So for the topping, I mixed together ½ a cup of sour cream and a couple teaspoons of sugar, and this is pretty cool now, so I'm gonna go ahead and top this, spread it evenly, and then stick this in the fridge to cool. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and make the Caesar dressing. I just found this recipe online, so I'll link it down below. I'm gonna use my little mini food processor. So in here, I've got a clove of garlic that I minced, and instead of anchovy fillets, I'm just using this Reese anchovy paste. I can get it at Walmart. It's super convenient because then I can just keep it in my fridge and use it whenever I need to make some Caesar salad dressing, which is pretty much the only thing I use it for. In here, I added 1 egg yolk, a teaspoon of Dijon, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, some olive oil. Oh, I need to put some Parmesan cheese in there also, and then we'll combine it. Okay, so that did not really make much dressing at all. About ½ a cup. This is an 8-ounce jar. So anyway, it's fine. It's good. I just added a little bit of extra ground pepper. Really kind of like strong, flavorful Caesar salad dressing, not like the bottled stuff you get. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge and we'll use it later. Okay, so I'm getting started on some of the components for the Scampi sauce. So these, this is kind of interesting. So basically, to make this roasted garlic for the sauce, they want you to take the garlic cloves that's still in the peel. And what I've done is basically saute this on like medium-low heat in a little bit of oil for about 15 to 20 minutes until the peels get lightly brown. And then I'm just gonna put it on some paper towel, let these cool, and then apparently once they are cool, they will slip easily out of the skins. Once the garlic cooled, I worked on taking that roasted garlic out of the skins. As you can see, it's slipping off quite easily. However, I will say that I have roasted a whole bulb of garlic before, you know, in the oven, drizzled with olive oil, cutting the top off. And I'm not quite sure that this method is superior. In fact, I think this method was actually a little bit more fussy. In the future, I will definitely do the whole bulb technique instead. So you might already know this, but you can get these brown bread rolls, the Cheesecake Factory brand. I can find them at Walmart. I think they have them in a lot of other grocery stores too. And all you have to do is heat them for 5 minutes in a 350-degree oven. Okay, so these are the shrimp that I'm using. They're frozen shrimp from Walmart. It's the 16 to 22 count per pound. These are raw, peeled and deveined with the tails still on. So what I did was just soak them in cold water. They thaw out pretty quick, dried them off, and then I just seasoned them with a little bit of salt and pepper. I've got my sauce starting here. This is just some butter and olive oil, and then I made up the batter for the shrimp, which is water, flour, salt, pepper, and some other seasonings. I've got oil there, which I'm gonna fry the shrimp in, and then I've got a pot of water going for my angel hair pasta. And then I went ahead and cut up all of the different like veggies and onions and or shallots and things that I would need. My roasted garlic is back here. I've got, where's my lemon juice? Lemon juice, chicken broth, white wine, parsley, basil, shallot, tomato. Okay, so I'm not very happy with this recipe, but I did salvage it. So what this dish is supposed to look like is you're supposed to put the pasta and the sauce kind of like in the middle of the bowl, and then see the shrimp are supposed to be like nice and brown and fried and on the outside. But as I first started frying the shrimp, against my better judgment, I didn't coat the shrimp in flour, and I thought, the batter's not gonna stick to these, and indeed, it did not. And yes, my oil was hot enough and everything. So then I pivoted a little bit, and I thought, well, I'll put some flour on them, then put them in the batter, then put them in the oil. Still not great. There's just like nothing in the batter to like brown besides flour. And so then I thought, okay, I'm gonna add an egg in there. That was a little bit better. Probably I could have gone with that. What I ended up doing was just taking the raw shrimp and putting it right in the sauce to simmer with it as it was finishing, and then added the pasta to the sauce. So it ended up turning out fine, but I did have to make some adjustments with the seasoning. The sauce in and of itself was very flavorless. I had to add a lot of salt, a lot of pepper, some more lemon juice, some Parmesan cheese, and then I salvaged it. So yeah, I mean, obviously not as planned, but it still turned out really good. The other thing I don't really understand is why you leave the garlic cloves whole. Like, I thought to myself as I was putting them in, I'm like, I should mash these up. And obviously I should have done that, but I was, you know, it's the first time you cook a recipe, so you're kind of following it. Okay, so the Caesar salad did turn out good. I just tossed the lettuce with some of that dressing. I added some olives, some shredded Parmesan cheese, and some croutons. And then obviously the bread turned out very good as well. We're having that with some butter for appetizer. And then here's how the shrimp scampi turned out. Like I said, not as planned, but still delicious. We salvaged it. Okay, so as a cookbook author myself, I like to provide constructive criticism and kudos on recipes that I find online, okay? And so after I made this shrimp scampi recipe, I thought, this recipe is not right, okay? It needs a little bit of tweaking. And listen, I totally understand that recipes can be subjective. However, I consider myself a very experienced home cook. I've been cooking for a long time. I'm also a cookbook author. And so I feel like I have a little bit of street cred in terms of like reviewing recipes. And so after I made the shrimp scampi recipe, I went back onto the Top Secret Recipes website and I rated the recipe. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. And I said, the recipe as written does not work. I'll pop my review up on the screen right here. I felt like I was not intending to be rude. I was trying to be constructive. I said, you know, the sauce lacks flavoring. Actually, if you look at the sauce ingredients itself, there's absolutely no seasoning in it. It doesn't call for salt, pepper, any other seasonings, nothing like that. Like just like cream, lemon juice, garlic, that kind of stuff. And so I got a reply back from them, which I don't really understand if it was like meant to be condescending. I kind of felt it was a little bit condescending, but maybe that's just me speaking as like a really experienced home cook. And the person that emailed me back was like, oh, your oil probably wasn't hot enough. Yes, it was. You didn't dry the shrimp. Yes, I did. I patted them dry on paper towels. I tested this, you know, this person said, I tested the sauce recipe and it was really good. I'm like, I understand that, but the recipe didn't have any seasoning. No seasoning in it at all. And so really, you know, I was intending to be like constructive about the recipe, right? Because if someone else is going to make this recipe, they should probably know these things in case they need extra things on hand to make it more flavorful, in case they need to make adaptations like I did. And so I wrote back to them and I said, I'm a very experienced home cook. I actually have a YouTube channel where I share cooking videos. I'm also a cookbook author. And also I had noted that they deleted my review from the site, which was the thing that honestly irritated me the most, because I'm like, I'm paying for this website. Okay. Like this isn't a free, these recipes aren't free, right? Like, and I really appreciate them, honestly, because most of the recipes that I've made from this website have been extremely good. And so I emailed them back and I'm like, you know, did you delete my recipe from the site? Like, I'm going to be sharing this on my YouTube channel. So I would like love to understand. I would love to understand like what's going on here. Thankfully, they replied back to me and said like, no, I understand. Like, thank you for sharing our site on your YouTube channel. We really just try to reach back out to people because we don't know if they are like very inexperienced home cooks and we're trying to help them. So honestly, like I understand that point of view, right? Like you never know who's making your recipes. You never know if they're following instructions. You never know if they're making substitutions, like that kind of thing. Personally, when I try like new recipes that I find online, for the most part, like especially with a recipe like this that I would personally say is fairly complex, like for someone like me who is an experienced home cook, I feel like this recipe was a bit complex even for me. And I can totally understand that for like a less experienced home cook, this recipe would actually be very complex, right? And so the other thing is like when you're making a more complex recipe, you really want it to turn out well, right? Because like you're investing a lot of effort into it. You're investing a lot of time into it. You're probably buying ingredients that you wouldn't normally buy. So all in all, I think it was fine. I do recommend Top Secret Recipes. Like I said, I made multiple recipes off of their site. In fact, the cheesecake recipe, as I showed you guys, which I will show you, was actually very, very delicious and more than made up for this particular recipe fail. I've also tried their Auntie Annie's recipe for pretzels. Delicious. They're soft pretzels. If you want to get on their website and try that particular recipe, it's delicious. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to share that like back and forth because I do feel like in terms of cooking, okay, like constructive criticism is always welcome. Now, if you're just like being mean and you haven't cooked something and you're saying that it sucks for whatever reason, you know, fine. Like that's just people being internet trolls. But I was really not, my intention was not to be like trolly. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. I was not trying to be like malicious about this. I was just trying to share that I did make the recipe as written and I didn't think it turned out great. So anyway, if you want to try this recipe, like I said, I'll link it down below, but just make sure that you're aware of those caveats that I discussed here. So this cheesecake is redemption for the shrimp scampi because it turned out delicious. I just have a small piece right here, but this might be the best cheesecake recipe I've ever made. Very creamy, delicious vanilla flavor. I just put a little bit of whipped cream on top and some fresh strawberries. You got that little bit of cinnamon in the crust. Definitely recommend this recipe. It's really good. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So all in all, this meal was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad that I did not try to make the bread from scratch, because I feel like with everything else that went on, that would have just tipped me over the edge. But the Caesar salad was good. Obviously the bread that I purchased from Walmart was also good. The shrimp scampi recipe turned out fine after I went ahead and made those you know, modifications and put the shrimp in with the sauce and all that. And obviously the cheesecake recipe, perfect. I think honestly it was the best cheesecake recipe I have ever made. So thank you for watching this video. Let me know if you all want to see more copycat recipes. I've really been enjoying doing those. And if you want to see the last copycat recipe video that I posted, you can click on this video right here.